All right, I think we're going to get started now. It is 7:02, and I think we've got most people who are planning on coming. If we get a few more, they can catch up as we're going along. But I wanted to welcome everybody tonight. This is the second webinar that we've done. The first one we did was our kickoff webinar in February, and I wanted to host another one closer to summer camp, just to go over some updates really quickly. But the bulk of tonight's presentation is going to be real-time training on how to use the registration software and how you can update your unit rosters and register for camp later on when that happens for you, all the way down to paying, merit badge, blue cards, all that good stuff. So we're going to go into a lot of that. We did just send out an update this afternoon. Actually, may have been this morning, with a new copy of the Leader's Guide. So if you haven't got the new copy of the Leader's Guide that's been updated, you can scan the QR code on the screen now with your smartphone, or you can go to psrweb.org/leader guide and you can download the fresh copy. And when you go to that web page as well, that's going to show you where the updates are that happen. So right above the download, you'll see all the updates that went into it. So that way you don't have to hunt for different changes. You can see what was changed and go right to those pages and review the information. So again, QR code on the screen will take you there, or psrweb.org/leader guide, and you can get an updated copy of that. A couple notes about this meeting. So this meeting is being recorded right now. We are planning on putting this meeting up on our YouTube page as well. We'll be sending that link out. So if you missed the meeting or you want to watch it again, you can watch it as many times as you want. We'll probably upload that sometime tomorrow and send the link out. It's also going to be available now and anytime after this meeting on our Facebook page. So it's live on Facebook right now, and you can watch it on our Facebook page directly after the meeting as many times as you like. Just one more note on the webinar basics for this. This is a webinar. This isn't a Zoom meeting, so you do not have access to your video or your audio. So we can't see you, you can't see them or hear, but there is a way for you to ask questions during the presentation. And that's going to be at the bottom of your screen through that Q&A box. So that Q&A box is where you can type in questions, and then we can take a look at those and answer those throughout the presentation. I am doing the presentation solo tonight, so I'm probably not going to watch that Q&A box throughout the presentation too much. But after the presentation's over with and we're done with the training, I plan on going through every single question that's in the box, and I will answer those live for you as long as it takes to make sure that we get all those answers out. And hopefully maybe we can answer some of those questions throughout the webinar as well, and your questions will be answered throughout that. If you do have any in-depth questions that happen after the webinar that would be better served with a phone call or an email, please don't hesitate to reach out. My email address is down there at the bottom of the screen, the camp director at psrweb.org, or you can call the main office line at the 419-459-4962, and my office is extension 105. So quick summarizing of some of the updates that went out in this most recent update for the Leader's Guide today. We did update our class sizes when we originally had our kickoff event in February. We did say that we were going to limit class sizes to 10 or less. That was assuming with 6-foot distancing in most of our program areas. We did just get some new, in the last couple months, guidelines from the CDC on classroom spacing with masks, and they're now recommending through their guidelines a minimum of 3 feet, which has went down a little bit from the normal 6 feet. We went through every single program area in camp. It took all morning. We went through every single program area, and we're able to figure out exactly how many scouts we can fit into different program areas based on that sizing. So some of our class sizes have increased in that guide that you'll notice from the one that was originally released in February. Because of this class size increase, we are able to be offering up to 5 merit badges, the full class scheduling per scout every single week at camp. So originally we were saying that there may be restrictions on how many badges a scout can take. We've been able to update that to allow scouts to take up to 5 badges no matter what week you're coming to camp. But our schedule is still limited. We're still running at about 80 to 85% what we normally have in terms of class sizes. So some classes may fill up more quickly. So I highly recommend that if you are getting those choices from your scouts, to get second and third choices. So that way, when you're doing merit badge registration, you have those ready and available to make registration go quick and easy. because some classes may fill up quicker than they normally do. But we've done a lot of math, a lot of looking at the schedule, and based on our choice selections from our 2019 camping season, the schedule should be able to handle up to 5 classes per scout, no matter what week you're coming to camp. Another thing that's really important that's in the new guide is our Parents' Night cancellation notice. Typically, we have Parents' Night on Wednesday evenings. This is one thing that we really couldn't find an easy workaround with. We're looking to keep everybody at camp who's registered, scouts, parents, and staff, as safe as possible. And based on our communication with our local health department and trying to make sure that everyone's safe at camp, we've made the decision to ultimately cancel the visitors and Parents' Night happening on that Wednesday evening. We just simply want to have as much space as possible for people to spread out at camp, and we also want to make sure that anyone coming into camp is screened, and we can keep good track of everyone to make sure they're not having symptoms before they come in. So please let your parents know of this new change. This is something that we're not going to have any exceptions on. So if we have people showing up to visit on Wednesday night or any night at camp, and they're not registered with your troop as a registered leader, paid leader, or paid scout, we're going to have to send them home at the office. So to avoid the disappointment at camp, please let your parents know of this change, because this is one that's a large change for our normal programming. There's a lot of other smaller changes that also happen, minor things to the schedule and updates. Those are all listed in detail on that Leaders Guide page, and I listed the QR code on this page as well if you didn't get it at the beginning of the meeting, so you can scan it, check out the new Leaders Guide, and check out all the changes. So that's all available for you. And if you have any questions on any of those, please don't hesitate to reach out and email me or give me a call. Upcoming dates. So the early bird deadline is April 26th. That means that payments made by April 26th are going to be discounted by $20. Any payments made after the April 26th deadline will be at the regular rate, and we do accept postmarked payments that are mailed in. So long as it's postmarked by the 26th, we will accept those in the mail. This is payment in full per scout, so you can pay for as many spots as you'd like before that date at the reduced rate. Any spots that you pay for after that date will automatically be recalculated to be at the regular price. So keep that in mind. If you have people who are looking to get that discount, that is on April 26th. Anybody paid by that deadline also gets a free early bird hat, and that includes leaders as well. Leaders rates, though, never change. They're the same rate no matter if you pay before or after the deadline. But if you want the free hat, that's calculated in with that. So make sure your leaders are paid by that time, and we'll make sure to include a hat for them. If you have crossovers that are happening, you can get an extension. That's available through emailing me or calling me and letting me know, and I'll get it put into the system for you. And the extension is all the way out to June 1st. And if you have anybody who crosses over, those are Weeblo crossovers who cross over after that April 26th date and still want to come to camp, we'll extend that early bird rate all the way out till registration of June 1st. And just email me for more details on that, and I can get you set up if you have scouts that end up being in that category. Below, I've listed the registration opening and closing dates for your weeks of camp. Excuse me. Every single week has a different registration opening date and closing date. And we also have pre-camp meetings on different dates as well. So look at your week on the chart, and if you look over to the registration and merit badge selection opening, your registration is going to open on that date at 4 p.m. So that's when you can start putting in names, and you can start putting in merit badge selection and also your leaders on that date. So that's the day you want to mark on your calendar to start putting stuff in to make sure that you get the badges that you want. Registration will close on the registration closing date in the next column over, and that'll be 1 day before your pre-camp leaders meeting. And we'll talk more about that and send more information out about that later on, but just keep in mind that those are your registration dates. And we'll talk a little bit about building your roster before this time when we do our online training, so you can be ready and prepared to go through this really quickly for registration. And now that's pretty much all the updates that I had. Again, you can use the Q&A box during any part of this session, and we're going to review the questions at the end of the training. I'm going to switch over now to a web browser, and I am going to walk everyone through the registration software and show you all the tips and tricks that I have to make registration as painless as possible. Give me 1 second. I'm going to pull that up. All right. And you should be available. You should be seeing my screen now for my web browser. And right here for psrweb.org, I just wanted to take you to this main screen so you can take a look at what our website looks like before you log in. So if you go to psrweb.org, this is our main web page, and then every troop logs in up here in the upper corner. There's an account for every single unit that comes to camp, and with those accounts, we have, with those, I'm sorry, I was missing something else. With those accounts, we have usernames and passwords. So there's one person, you should have those credentials for your unit. If you don't have login information, you can send me a quick email and I can get that switched over if you have, maybe have somebody who took over for the troop and the old person's no longer with the troop, or if you need to get a refresher on your username and your password, I can take care of that for you too. So just let me know. But again, it's logging in up here in the corner, and we used to send out a password and username in your leader's guide every year because it would change. Now you have the same account every single year, nothing changes, and you use that account for everything. So if you still have your login information from 2019 or 2020, it's going to be the exact same information to log in. Once you're logged in, you're going to see your home screen, and it's going to look just like this. So your home screen is going to have a sidebar down here. And this one has all your main buttons. You also have 2 buttons up at the top for your events and your trips. Events are things like summer camp. Trips might be a weekend reservation or something like that for cabin rental or campsite rental at either our camp here at Pioneer Scout Reservation or at Camp Miaconda. So this system handles all of our event registration for the council, not just for summer camp. So that you will see other events on here as well for registration. This is a test account. So this is one that I've created. It's a fake troop account, and I actually created a test week for training just for tonight, so that way I can walk you through. So this week doesn't actually exist, but it's set up very similar to our normal summer camp weeks. So that way you can take a look and see what we have going on for summer camp, and it'll look exactly the same. On the other side here, you have a couple buttons. You have Manage Profile, and you have Manage Previous Orders and Manage My Group. So the first thing I want to talk about is managing your profile. So if you click on that, that's going to take you into your main profile settings. Some of these things are not editable, others are. But as you can see, you can change your password if you need to here, so you can update your password. But the most important thing that I wanted to show everyone is updating your primary account information. So this is the primary person on the account. As you can see, it's myself because this is a dummy account that I've made up. But what we really want to make sure of is that you have good information in here, because this is our main point of contact and how we reach out to your unit should we have any questions or need to contact you. So if you check on your account and it's not the person that's supposed to be there, please update that. And please also include a mailing address. Sometimes we mail out leaders guides or reminder postcards, and this is the address that we're going to use. This is something you can change at any time. You don't have to contact us at the office. You can keep that up to date on your own, and you can keep that, changed as needed. There's also a list for an alternative contact, and that's down here. The alternate contact is also somebody who will receive any emails that we send out. So we use this system to send out important emails for summer camp, and if you include their email address down here, it's also going to send the emails to them as well. So you can change this alternative contact here. And this is for any single thing that happens through this account, for any reservations, for any summer camp things. So it's not just summer camp, it's anything. We actually have a new way to put in some additional contacts just for summer camp, and we're going to talk about that a little bit later, but I wanted to show you this part first. The second one that I want to click on now is the My Group. That's up here, or if we're on the home screen, it would just be over here on the side again. So if we click, it takes us to the same spot. This may be blank for you. This may already have scouts in it, depending on if you've used the account before. But this is where you're going to plug in the youth that you're going to have for any of your events, not just for summer camp. And this is what's going to come up when you start registering scouts for badges. You're going to pull from this list. So instead of typing every single scout's name in and their date of birth and their gender and every adult's name and gender in when you're registering for badges, which can take some time, you can actually build your roster beforehand, so that way you can just pull from this list at any time, and it makes the registration process so much quicker. So basically, I've already added a few in here, adults and youth, but if you need to add another one, all you do is click the plus button, and that brings you up to this page. You can add it in. We can add my brother in just for fun. And it will say date of birth is optional, but the date of birth is going to be required for summer camp. So if you leave this blank at this time, you can add them, but when you go to summer camp registration, it's going to tell you date of birth is required, and you're going to have to add it at that point. So I highly recommend adding it in right now, so that way it's good. I'm just going to pick a random date. Again, gender, same way. If you don't add it now, it's going to ask for it at summer camp. So it's better just to add it now. But those are the only things that I need for summer camp. I don't need to have any of this other stuff filled in if I don't want to. And it's not really necessary. We don't use any other portion of that for our summer camp stuff, especially for youth. We don't need any contact info. Again, we're gonna record that when we collect your medical forms and everything else too. So I'm gonna add him. I'm going to hit complete, and now you can see that Dave Porter has been added to my list. So he's on the list as youth as well. You can do the same thing for adults. The adults also require gender for summer camp, so make sure you're putting gender in. That just lets us know when we're doing registration and helps us easily identify our Scouts BSA boys troops and our Scouts BSA girls troops. So that's also required. So that's how you build your roster. I'm going to click the home button again, and I'm going to go back to my home screen. And this is where your summer camp week will show up. So this one says test week for training purposes, but for you, it'll probably say week 1 or week 4 or week 7, and it'll show the dates for your summer camp. It also shows when your registration closes. Right now, it's probably going to say registration opens because it hasn't opened yet. I've opened registration for this training purpose, so you can see how it's going to look when your registration opens. But if you try and do registration tonight and add in youth and merit badges, it's going to tell you, nope, you got to wait till this date. And that's going to be the date that correlates to that chart that I showed you at the beginning of the meeting. To go into your summer camp, all you do is click on this box, and it takes you into your main page for your summer camp reservation. There's a lot going on with this. Again, it's going to tell you your week number up here, week dates, leaders guide links available here if you need it. This is an important financial summary box. This is going to show you how much you still owe. So based on what settings are in there for your unit, that's going to give you your total that's still owed. If that says $0, you're all paid up. As you can see, I haven't paid anything for this yet, so I still owe a decent amount. As I scroll down, I can see that I'm currently registered for 13 spots in Plan A, and I have 0 of 13 registered. That means I have 13 spots, but 0 of them have names attached to the spots. And as I add names to those spots, that number will change. Same with my registered leaders. I can manage the spots here, so I can add or remove spots, and you can do that at any time, and we're going to talk about that in just a second. And then down here, as you add scouts, it's going to show up down here. So as you can see, I have 13 spots left to add participants to, and as I add scouts to these spots, they'll show up in this box. And as I add leaders, they'll show up here. If you're a different meal plan, they'll just show up under the respective meal plan that you have. So that'll be dependent on how your system's set up. If you want to change your meal plan, all you have to do is manage your spots, get rid of all the ones in Plan A, and add them all into Plan B. And we'll show you how to do that as well. Down here, everyone will have at least one product, unless we haven't added it in there for you yet, but we do have an additional site fee, as always, and that's for registration purposes. We add it as a product, so this one's $100. The site fee is normally $100. If you're sharing a site, it'll be a prorated of that fee, so 2 troops will be $50 each, 3 troops would be $33 each, and that'll be reflected down at the bottom here as a product and show up on your invoice as well. And we're going to scroll all the way back up to the top now. And what I want to do is talk a little bit about managing your spots. So you can manage spots all the way up until the early bird deadline of April 26th. That doesn't mean you can't add or remove after that date. It just means you can't do it on your end. We try and cut that off at that point to try and get a solidified number. And when I say you can't adjust it, you can always add spots. But the date to take away spots or reduce spots will be on that April 26th date. So after that date, it won't let you reduce any spots. If you have spots that you want to reduce after that date and they're not paid for, just send me an email and I can take care of getting that adjusted for you, or you can talk to the business office as well. We will always reduce spots if they're not paid for, even all the way up to your pre-camp leaders meeting or even up to camp. But once you pay for a spot, once you put money down on it, we do not do refunds unless it's a medical emergency or something like that that falls under our refund policy. So remember, if you're paying for spots, always remember to have a scout that's definitely coming when you're paying for that spot. Don't pay for them all up front thinking you're going to fill them and then expect to get them refunded at the end. But if you didn't pay for them, we're not going to charge you for them. That's our policy with camp stuff. If I want to manage my spots at this given time, I can go to Manage Spots. And at this point in time, I can go in here and I can edit them. So I can add spots, reduce spots. So if I have 13 right now, maybe I'm only bringing 11. If I want to change it to Plan B, I could put my 11 spots here, and I could make this 0, but I don't. I want to keep it Plan A, so I'm going to leave them up here. But you're able to play around with this as much as you want. Another thing that's brand new after we just got a new update to our system is this box down here. This is called your primary event contact and alternate event contact. So this is a primary contact just for summer camp. So let's say that the person who's on your main account is your Scoutmaster, but you have somebody who manages your registration and handles things for summer camp, and you want them to also receive all of the emails and things that we send out. You can put them here in these two boxes, and you have a place to add 2 additional people that will get emails and in addition to the people on your primary profile, and it'll just be for this event, not for anything, just for summer camp. So this is a really great feature if you have somebody that doesn't necessarily do a whole lot for your troop during the rest of the year, but they handle all your summer camp stuff. Add their name and email here so they can receive all of our updates, and then they'll get them as well, so you're not constantly forwarding things onto them. So that's a place where you can add those. There is a copy from profile button, so if you wanted to copy it from your main profile, you could. If you wanted to add the same names, and you can see it'll just copy it from the main one. But I'm not sure why that's even there, because any email that we send out is going to get sent out to the main point of contact as well as the primary event contact, so it'll probably just send 2 emails. But it does show up on your invoices and things, so if you want to send it in there, that's fine. I've made my adjustments. So I adjusted this down to 11 spots instead of the 13 that I had. As you can see, there's a couple different steps, and you're going to go through these steps every time you make an adjustment. You may not make changes to every single part, but you just hit next if you don't want to make a change. So as you can see at the bottom here, we've got a next bar. So I'm going to hit next. I've made that adjustment. It's going to take me to the products page. Now, Camp Frontier offers campsite equipment at no additional cost for your unit, and you can put a request in for these by using this spot right here. You don't have to request these when you're registering for camp right away, because I know that you may not even know how many you need. I would prefer that you recommend that you go in and make changes to this later on, maybe right before your 2-week leader meeting, your pre-camp meeting, to make sure that you get a good quantity. Because it's products and the way that the system's set up, you can always add them, but if you want to reduce them because it's a product, for some reason the system will not allow you to reduce them on the user end. I can reduce them on my side, so if you do need to make a reduction because you requested too much stuff, please let me know and I can go in and do that really quickly. But it's easier if you know what you want right when you're requesting it, and then that way you don't have to worry about making a reduction, but you can always add. So I'm not going to add any of these right now, but if I did add them, I could request as many as I wanted. Let's say I wanted a 9. I could hit add product and it would show up here on the corner. And if I want to, I can hit remove, and that will remove it from what I was trying to do. So I'm not going to add anything. I'm just going to hit next. Goes to campsite. So this is where when you originally registered for camp, you were able to select up to 3 campsites. It's now been assigned. So if your campsite's been assigned, it's going to show up here and it's not going to give you the choices anymore. And this one's been assigned to Crockett. So that's going to just tell you where the campsite is. So we're just going to hit next again and confirm. If you were going to make you just made adjustments to this, so that's going to affect your total balance. So now we don't owe quite as much money, but it's going to ask us what we want to do now. Do we want to pay the full amount now? Do we want to pay an other amount other than the full amount? We can type our amount in here. Or do we just not want to pay anything right now? We just want to make the change. We're going to wait and pay later. That's fine too, and the system will allow you to do that. And that's a change from the 2019 system, as we've created a new setting where you can process things without making payments. So that way you can adjust things and you can add scouts, you can add badges, and you can pay your whole bill at once, or you can make payments beforehand. So we're not going to pay anything right now. We're just going to pay the minimum required amount, which is $0, and we're going to hit complete. So we just made changes. Anytime we go through a menu like that and make changes, it's going to add it to our shopping cart. And then we're going to have this big red bar that says, there are changes or payments for your event in your cart. Please remember to check out soon to finalize. So we have not finalized this. It is not posted it to the system yet. It's just something that we decided we wanted, but we haven't went through the checkout process. And even if you're not paying any money, you do have to check out to finalize your changes. So I want to finalize the changes. The changes that we made are in my cart. So I can either hit the checkout here and it'll take me right to the checkout, or I can click my cart and see what's in it. And as you can see, I edited event registration, $0 because we're not charging anything. And it's just lowering my number to 11 from 13. So if I don't want to do that anymore and I want to just go back to what I was at, I can hit empty cart and it'll just revert my screen and everything will go back to normal. But I do want to check out. I want to edit those changes. So I'm going to hit checkout. It's going to take me to this page. This information right here is just important for receipt. So if you want to get a receipt, make sure that your email address is correct, and make sure that if somebody else wants the receipt there as well. This is probably more applied if you're going to make a payment and actually want a financial receipt for that money that you just made. If you want to see what's in your cart, you can click the caret. It'll drop that down and you can see what's there. But I'm just going to scroll all the way to the bottom and I'm going to place order. Now, if there was money due, there would be a place right here where I could put my credit card information in, or I could put in an e-check information. We do 2.5% processing for credit cards. So if you pay with a credit card, there will be a processing fee, but e-check we do not charge extra for. And that's really easy to do with a Troop checking account. All you need is a blank check or your checkbook, and you just need those two numbers at the bottom, the account number and the routing number. And you'll put those in and then place the order, and it'll do a direct transfer from that bank account to our bank account. So that's a way to pay for camp without physically writing a check and not getting any processing fees. But we're not paying any money right now, so we can just hit place order. It's not going to ask us for anything. So we hit place order. It's going to say order submitted. You can hit view receipt, but we didn't pay any money. So as you can see, it just shows what we did and shows for $0. So that receipt was kind of worthless. But if you did pay, it's going to have that. And there's a place to find your past receipts as well if you ever need to look them back up. So I'm just going to click close there, and it took me back to my home screen. If I click on summer camp again, now you can see that my total's been updated, and now I only have 11 spots available instead of the 13. So I made that adjustment. The next thing I want to talk about is I want to talk about adding scouts and leaders. So when your date happens at 4 p.m. for your week, you'll be able to start adding names to these spots. So what you can do is when you get online, you're going to go in. You've already added people to your roster because you were thinking ahead. You got that filled out, so that's good to go. So you're going to go in, you're going to click on summer camp, and you're going to scroll down to your participants. And you can either click add participant here under the Plan A Scouts, or you can click add participant here. It's going to take you to the same page. You can also click this plus button. They're all just buttons that take you to the same page. It's going to take you to your add participant page. So I'm going to click add participant, and it's going to take me to my roster, so my group. So here's all the people that are in my group. They're alphabetical ordered, and as you add them, they're going to disappear from this list so you know who you have left. So after I add John Boyce, for example, you'll see that he's no longer on my list when I go to add another participant for the next one. So that helps you to eliminate who you have left to still register and gives the list a little shorter, so that way you're not hunting for names if you have a larger unit. You can add adults here as well. If they're not on your list, you can also add a new person right now. You just hit new youth, type the name in, date of birth, gender, and then hit next, and it'll take you to the next screen where you start selecting participant type. But we're going to do somebody we already have in here. So we're going to do John Boyce, and we're just going to click on him, and it's automatically going to take us to his name. It's going to open it up. Here we have a chance to make edits if we need to. So if, for example, the date of birth is not there, we can add it in. We can change. We can make the gender if that's not there, or we can edit the name if we need to. But everything's good, and we're going to go forward with this. So we're going to hit next, and it's going to take us to step number 2, which is participant type. We have 3 different participant types for the 3 different meal plans. You're only going to have availability for one because that's the meal plan you are. So we're going to click that one and hit next again. And here's where you register this person for classes. So it's going to open up the classes bar, and they're all going to be listed here in this really big long list. Really great pro tip for this. Don't keep scrolling through that list. I've got a great tip for you that's going to make registration so much faster. There's a little magnifying glass up here in the corner. If you click on that, you can search for any merit badge and it's going to sort the list in real time. So for example, if he was looking for camping, all you have to do is start typing camping. And as you can see, I've only typed 3 letters and it's already sorted out the list to just the camping classes because those are the only ones that are starting with those 3 letters. They're all available here. You can see each one, the start time, prerequisite, how many spots are still available at this time, and also if there's an age requirement for these merit badges. And you'll see that there's a camping is going to be offered at 9, 10, 11, and 2. If the class is full, it'll say class full, so you'll know that that's not available and it won't let you select it. But it'll still show up, so you're not thinking, well, was that even a thing? Was that even an option? You'll know it's an option. You'll see that it's full. So if we want to add one of these classes to a schedule, let's say he was looking for camping at 10, we'll hit add class. But I did this one on purpose because John here, I believe it was John Boyce that we're registering, is not 13 years old yet. He's only 11 based on his date of birth. So what it's going to tell us right here is this participant does not meet minimum age requirements for this class. Now, date of birth, it calculates your age requirement based on the first day of camp, based on your date of birth. So if they turn the age they need to turn on the first day that their camp session starts, they should be good to go. So that's how that registration works. So I can't even hit next here. It's not going to let me go because I have something here that's not allowed. So what I need to do is I need to remove it. And I need to find some merit badges that he can take. So let's try a merit badge like art. So I'll start typing art. And as you can see, the 2 art, graphic arts, and art come up. And we're going to add this class. Looks good. He's got it here at 2 o'clock. This one does have an additional fee. It's $4.50 for that class. Some of our classes have additional fees. This is just going to be added to your bill. You don't have to pay it now during registration. It'll just tabulate that all up, and then you can pay it all in one lump sum if you want to. So we've got art on there. And as you can see, once I add a class, it says 1 conflicting class, and that's the art at 2. So the nice part about this list is as you add things at a certain time slot, it's not going to show any other merit badges at that time slot. So if I look at camping again, which I believe was offered at 2, you can see that all these campings are open except for one at 2 o'clock, which is conflicting. Now let's say if he wanted to have camping and he was old enough for it. If I hit the add class button, it's going to remove the art one and replace it with the camping one. So that's how that would work. So if you don't see the class on the list, it's probably because they already have a class in this list on the side that's in that time frame. So now it's only showing me 9, 10, 11, and 3 o'clock merit badges. If I clear out my text at the top, it just goes back to the general list. But again, it's only showing 9, 10, 11, and 3 o'clock merit badges. The other ones would be at the very bottom under the conflicting carrots. So let's sign him up for some more stuff. I want to sign him up for archery, so I'm going to start typing archery. He has a 2 o'clock already, so we're going to try and do a 10 a.m. archery. So we're going to add that. That one also has a fee. And as I start adding these classes, you'll see that the list gets smaller and smaller. 9 a.m. leatherwork, so now he has a 9 and a 10. Let's try and find an 11 for him. Maybe a metalwork. So there's metalwork at 11 and 3. We can add that in. Oh, he can't take metalwork. It's 12 years of age or older, and he's 11. So we can't do that one. So we're going to remove that. We'll look for something else. If you want to just look for classes, you can just look and see what's still available. So now it's only showing me 11 and 3 o'clock badges, and the 11s are all first. So maybe I just want to peruse. I'm not sure exactly what he wants, but I just want to sort the list. Oh, cooking. He could take cooking at 11. So we're going to add that class in. So that's there. Now all that's left in my list is my 3 o'clock badges, and we're going to try and get him a full schedule. So we're going to add him in for, let's see, basketry. And now he has a full schedule of leatherwork, archery, cooking, art, and basketry. So that's all there. We're going to hit the next button, and that's going to take us to confirmation. And it's always going to ask us how much we want to pay. And it's always going to take the total amount that we owe for anything on our bill, or we can pay a different amount, or we can just choose not to pay anything at this time and add more to our bill. And as you can see, this registration is going to add $30 to our total bill for his classes, because I picked every single class I think had a fee to it. But I did that on purpose so we can take a look at how it looks on our invoice. So I'm going to hit complete. And now it's added the changes into the cart. If I click on my cart now, I can see that I got all these in my cart and they're ready to go. But here's the deal. Everybody else for this week is also registering for badges at this time, and they could be picking the exact same badges that we're trying to pick for John. So we don't have these badges yet. We don't for sure have them. They're still sitting in our cart and they're not finalized. As you can see, the red bar says there's changes in our cart. We need to check out soon to finalize. So until we finalize our cart, we don't know for sure that John got the badges he wanted, because just because it said there were spots in that path screen, if maybe there was only one spot left and somebody else grabbed it and checked out before you, they're going to get the spot. How do you avoid a lot of conflicts? I recommend checking out for youth every 2 to 3 youth, or maybe even every youth, especially if you're not paying any money. Just check out every single time you have a youth in your cart, and then when you check them out, they'll for sure have their spots, and then move on to the next one. I recommend starting with your youngest first-year campers who are trying to get into certain badges, or starting with maybe your Eagles who are trying to get one specific badge they definitely need for Eagle, and they're going to age out next year, so this is when they have to have at summer camp. So if there's certain scouts that need badges for sure and they don't have a whole lot of alternatives, register those scouts first to make sure that they get what they need. When you go to checkout, it's going to take you to the checkout page, show you your changes just like normal. We didn't choose to pay for anything, so it's $0. And you're going to scroll all the way down to the bottom and you're going to place your order. At this time, when you hit place order, one of two things is going to happen. You're either going to hit it and it's going to say order submitted successfully, view your receipt, and we don't want to, we're just going to close. Or it'll say there are changes, there are items in your cart that are currently now out of stock. So for example, somebody else got that last spot in basketry, and now we have to pick an alternative, and it will list which ones they are. You can either choose to remove that out of your cart and just process what's still there, or you can go back and you can go in and change his choices and then go back and process your cart. But one way or the other, you're going to want to fix that with a new badge and then change it. The times when you're going to run into this, for the most part, is if you build your entire cart up of like 20 scouts and never check out. That's really dangerous, because that means that other people for that entire time that you've been building your cart have also been building their cart, and they may have checked out before you and taken those badges before you did. If you check out every single time or every couple of scouts, that's going to allow to make sure that there's a very little chance that you're going to have a badge go out in the same amount of time, because you're doing it and grabbing it and checking out in almost the same minute. So that's my recommendation for registration and getting things through. I've had a couple units, only a couple, who didn't grasp the fact that it wasn't processed until the cart was processed in 2019. They had an entire cart full of merit badges, and then we processed the cart like a week later. And we did have some merit badges where we had to find a lot of alternatives because they just were no longer available. So just avoid that by making sure you check out quickly. It always takes us back to this screen when we do a checkout. We can click on it again. We just put, I think it was John in. Yep, and we want to add another one, so we're just going to go for the next one and hit Add Participant. We can do Daniel Clark, same way, next. Click this, next, and then start picking his badges. We can search for them up here if we want to, or scroll down and find them. We'll add them to the list, hit next. We'll confirm that we don't want to pay anything right now, we're just trying to put them through. We'll hit checkout again, and we can go down here and hit, once this disappears, place order, and it'll check it out. Now, if you want to add a couple to your cart at a time, if you're on a light week, or there was like tons of spots in every badge that they picked, so you're not too worried about it, instead of checking out, you can come down here and you can just hit add participant again, or this plus button, and you can see right now that John Boyce is good to go, but Daniel Clark has a cart next to his name. That means he still has changes in the cart, so he's not processed yet. So those are the ones you want to watch out for. But we can add another one right now if we wanted to and process them at the same time. We could grab Richie, we can do next. We got to select that first, hit next. And then we can select a merit badge for him, or a full schedule, whatever we want to do. Hit next, hit complete, and now they're both in our cart. So if we go to our cart, we'll see Daniel and Richie's merit badge. We're going to check out. We didn't pay anything. We chose to pay $0. We're going to place the order, close that, go back to our main screen again, and you'll see now when we scroll down that John, Richie, and Daniel are all here. If you need to make changes to anybody who you've registered, you can simply click on them at any time. So if we want to make changes to Daniel's merit badge or either add or subtract, or John's, we just click on them. It's going to bring up this, and it's going to show what's currently registered for them. And if we want to make changes, we hit Manage Registration, and we can either cancel it. So maybe he's not coming anymore and we want to get rid of his name, or we're going to replace it with somebody else to take the spot. That'll cancel it, and you just process your cart, and then his will be canceled. Or you can hit Edit Registration, and you can edit something on his registration. So, for example, we'll just go through the thing again. Next, and we're now to the classes. Let's say he didn't want leather work anymore, and he wanted to try for something else at 9 a.m. A lot of people ask me this question: if I hit the remove button here, is that going to open the class up? And then when I pick the next class, if that's gone again, is that going to screw me over because I got rid of his original class? No. So just like it doesn't add the class until you process your cart, it doesn't remove it either until you process your cart. So when I hit remove here, it'll show another space for leather work only after I process my cart. So if that class was full and he had the last spot, once I process, it'll reopen that up for somebody else. But for right now, it's just kind of sitting in limbo because we haven't processed our cart yet. So if we decide that we did really want that spot, it's not going to go away because we had it. And we still have it no matter what because we already registered for it. But if you want another 9 a.m., we could go through here. We could search the 9 a.m.s at top, and we could add class to astronomy. Another way to switch is, for example, if we wanted to switch to another 10 a.m., trying to think of one that's always, maybe we wanted to switch the leather work to 10 a.m. We can type in leather, but nothing's coming up because he has a 10 a.m. already, but there's 5 conflicting classes, all the ones that he's already scheduled for. Now, if we wanted to switch out his archery at 10 a.m. for leather, all we have to do is add class, and now the leather work's there and the archery's gone. So that's a way to do that. These changes are not permanent yet, so if he signed up for a new badge and there was little spots left, he needs to still process quickly, but the one that he got rid of, we already had. It's not going to give it up until we process the card either, so you always have that as a backup. Not going to pay anything, pay little amounts, $0. We're going to go to checkout. It's going to show us what we're doing. We're getting rid of archery, getting rid of leather work. We're adding astronomy and leather work. And that 2 stands for the second, time block, which is the 10 a.m. time block. We're going to scroll down here, place the order, close it. He's good to go. And then as we go in here, we can see that when we click on him now, his schedule's now been updated. His leather works at 10 and his astronomy at 9. So that's how you do it. If you ever want to print off a schedule for just one youth, you can do that here. You can click schedule and class schedule, and that's going to download a PDF. And that PDF is going to look like this, and it'll just be a one-pager with their schedule, and it'll have all that's going on. It'll also have their name, their week number, their troop number, and everything. Great way, and there's a way to print all of these off for your entire unit in one document, and it's a great thing to have printed off if you want to do ahead of time to give out to your scouts on Monday morning, so that way they know what badges they're in for the day. So a lot of troops like that report for their entire class. We're going to hit the back button here and go back to our main registration because I do want to talk a little bit about leaders next. So leaders are added the same way. You hit the plus button, pick your leader, make any adjustments if you need to, but it's already all in there. Pick one of your spots. And then there are some classes for leaders that are available. So we do have our leader class schedule in here, and you can add those if you want to. Another thing that's in here is the Cpap battery. So if you have leaders that were looking for that Cpap battery, you can add it to the specific leader that needs it. And it's a $25 charge additional, and you just add it just like you would a class, and it'll add it to your bill. So that's a way to add that. If you have partial leaders, so you have leaders that are only coming for part of the week, there's a way that you can denote that when paying for them on your fee transmittal form, or if you're trying to do payment online, you can pay just for that partial leader. There's a fee chart on the fee transmittal form, and that's available in the back of our leaders guide. and it'll tell you what the daily rate is for leaders, and only pay for the days that they're actually attending. It'll say that you still owe money for them. You'll just have to say pay other amount. And it'll say you still owe some money for them. That'll be the difference of the weekdays they're not coming. Let me know, and then I'll put I can go on my end and put the discount in, so that way your total will reflect the leader discount for just a couple days, and then you should be down to a zero balance, assuming everything else is paid. So we do have to put those partial leaders in on our end, but we can definitely do it. And we're happy to take care of that, and I can do that, via emails, anything. Just reach out to me, and it only takes a few seconds. So we're not going to add any classes today for this leader. We're just going to add them to our roster. Pay $0. We're going to hit complete, and again, they're in our cart, so we need to check them out to show that we're adding them. We're going to place our order, close, and click back in here. So now you can see that we have a leader. We have this many spots left for leaders, this many spots left. This doesn't mean that the spots are paid. It just means how many spots we said were coming. And we already talked about how to adjust those. As you pay for them, you can make payments. You just make payments in bulk based on what money you want to pay towards it. You can either pay the full amount, or you can pay other amount and type it in here. If you wanted to pay another amount, let's say you wanted to pay like $1,000 right here, you could type in 1,000, hit save, and it'll add $1,000 to your cart. And looks like they haven't paid for their site fee yet. So it's taking the first $100 and applying it to the site fee, and then the $900 towards their whatever other camp fees they have. It is adding a credit card convenience fee on here for $25, which is at 2.5%. And let's go to the cart and look at that. So we're going to hit checkout, and here's where it is with that credit card convenience fee. That's because the credit card is the first type of payment that comes up. So if we scroll down here and we hit e-check, and we put in this money, if we scroll back up, we'll see now that our cart does not have that $25 fee. There's no applied fees. It's just the $1,000 we're paying. So that automatically goes away once you select e-check and then put it through. So if you're seeing that, don't worry about it. If you're doing e-check, it'll get rid of it. I'm not going to process this. I don't want to mess up our accounting system. So I'm just going to hit that because I don't want to put that through since it's not a real payment. But I'm going to empty the cart now, and then it'll just go back to normal with nothing there. If you pay any money paid towards camp before the early bird date will be received as early money, and it'll assume that you're paying at the rate of $20 off per scout. After the April 26th deadline of early bird, the next day your payment will be increased. So if you have scouts that are still not paid for, it's going to take whatever balance you still owe and divide it out by how many scouts you have, and it's going to add that $20 on, so it will increase if you haven't paid for them yet. But if you paid for everybody, it's still just going to show as $0, so it won't increase anything because that money was received in the system on the April deadline or sooner. And if we receive any money in-house, like via mail that's mailed in and it comes in after the date but it's postmarked, we'll make sure to backdate that payment to the early bird date, so that way it shows up correctly online. The last thing that I want to talk about is some of the reporting features. So there is a button here called Reports, and this one right here is helpful with a lot of great stuff. The biggest one that I use all the time and that you're going to see a lot is your invoice, and that's going to be a summary, a financial summary for your troop. And it's going to be real time on what's processed through cart. So if you have something still sitting in your cart, like money that you're trying to pay, or maybe like merit badges that'll have fees, they won't show up on your invoice until your cart's been processed. So make sure you always process your cart, even if it's just for $0, so that way your invoice is always correct. I'm going to click on that and look at the invoice for this unit right now and see what we've got. And as you can see, there's a few different parts of this invoice. It's going to have your basic info here. So that's your troop info. It's going to have your week number here, campsites that you're in, if you have multiple, but pretty much everyone's in one. And then down here, it's going to show us a summary of what fees we owe. So we have 11 Plan A scouts, and they're at $363 a piece. I believe this pricing is actually from an old system, so it might have been last year's pricing or 2019. So don't quote on the pricing for the Plan A. It may be different than what's in the Leader's Guide. But this one, this event was set up for $363 for Plan A. So that's there, and then it's going to give us our total amount for 11 times 363, which is that $3,993. As you can see, I've got Plan A leaders. I only have 2 spots for leaders, and it's showing $0 for both. The reason being is that's our free leader discount. It's automatically calculated based on how many spots you have for Plan A scouts. So you get 1 right off the bat just for registering for camps. You always get 1 free leader. And then for every additional 10 scouts you bring to camp, you get an additional free leader. So we're over 10, we're at 11. So we're actually getting 2 free leaders. So we're not paying for any of our leaders. It's not charging us for them. They're showing up as $0. And I'm going to add a 3rd leader after I'm done going through this so you can see how that looks as well. For products, it shows our site fee, which we added on our end for $100. That's going to show up there in your invoice. If you add any other products like cots, tents, propane tanks, those are all going to show up here as well and how many you've requested, but it's just going to show them as $0 because we're not charging for them. We're just using it to kind of keep track of how much you want. Below that are the participant classes. So this is going to list each scout only if they have additional fees. So as you can see, John Boyce is listed here because he took all those merit badges with those fees. He's got art for $50, basketry at $8, cooking at $5, and leatherworking at $8 for a total of $25.50. And if there was another scout, he'd be listed right underneath in another line with those same merit badges that are calculated there. So that's the total there. And as you can see, between his total, the total registration fees for class registration and event registration, our total right now is $4,118.50. Down here is your payment history. So as you make payments and process payments, it's going to show up here. It's going to show how they were made, whether it was e-check or received at council or credit card. It's going to show how much is applied to the balance, so how much you paid at that time. And then down here, it's going to show your remaining balance. So if I made a $100 payment, it would show up here, $100. And then down here, instead of saying 4,118, it'd say 4,018.50. And that's just going to keep going down. As these lines get bigger, it just keeps adding lines. If it gets to the end of the page, it just creates a second page and flows on to the next one. But that invoice is a great way to see your financial summary if you're wondering how much you still owe and why and what that looks like. So that's a great report to pull. If you check, let's go in and manage our spots again. And what I'm going to do is add a 3rd leader. I'm going to hit next. Don't need products right now. Campsite's great. Not going to pay for them right now. I'm going to add it to my cart. I'm going to go to checkout again. And I'm going to scroll all the way to the bottom and place my order and hit close. The total's been updated for that new leader. Now I owe a little bit more money. And if I go to reports now and hit invoice, I'm going to open that. And now you can see that I have a Plan A leader. I have 2 at $0, and I have 1 Plan A leader at 170, which is the leader rate. And it's added it into my total. So that's how another leader would look if you had over the amount that you would get for free. If I add in discounts, so I can add in discounts for leaders who are coming partial. It's called a partial leader discount, and it'll show up as another line, and it'll say partial leader discount, and it'll say how much it was for, and then that'll show up as another price there too. So you can see what's going on with your partial leaders, and they'll show up on the invoice separated as well, so you know what's going on. So that's what the invoice looks like. Other reporting features that are available on here include a participant roster. So that one's kind of nice. If you click on that and open that, that's just going to give you a roster of everyone coming to camp and any information that was already in that sheet. Maybe a nice roster to have when you're getting ready to go to camp and you want to take attendance at the troop meeting place before you leave to go. So that's a great way to get a roster real quickly without having to type it out. You can also, with reports, do a class schedule. And the class schedule PDF, this one right here is going to put all the scouts on one page, or all the scouts in one document. So this one is going to show John Boyce and his merit badges, Daniel Clark and his, Richie Perry and his, and they're going to list them by time. So this is a way to have one document to see where everybody's at. Maybe a great one for the Scoutmaster or whoever's in charge of the campsite to see where people are at during the day. But another report that's on the main page is the class schedule by person PDF. And that's going to be just like the one we saw, but it's going to show a report, and it's going to have one page for every single scout. So this is the one you hand out to each one of your unit or each one of your scouts. So that way they have a way to know where they're going, and it's going to do one per page. More reports in here. You can do a class schedule and do an Excel CSV file. If you want the comma separated value one, that's great. This is just going to put it into an Excel table for you. And if you do your own forms or just want the data, the raw data of your classes with who's taking what and the times, that's a great report to pull. Requirements completed, that one's the one you can pull at any time during summer camp and after camp, and that's going to tell you the scouts what they completed in their merit badges. So it's going to show every scout the classes they took. It's also going to show you every single merit badge requirement that they earned at camp and whether the merit badge was completed or a partial. This is also the one that we're going to print for you at the end of the week, so that way you can have the information and take it back and put it into your system on wherever you're keeping track of advancement. You can do that also with the requirements completed in this Excel export. That's another way to export it. And then if your troop still likes using traditional blue cards, like the VSA style ones, there is a way to print fronts and backs and get those printed out. I recommend printing these after camp, so that way you have all the requirements all filled out. We don't take blue cards at camp anymore. We're giving you this completed report, and we're actually putting in requirements on a daily basis into the system. So you can get online and pull that report anytime during camp and see up to date based on that evening what the scouts did that day. The blue cards is more of a formality if your troop still likes to use those, and you can print those on your own if you need to back home and do whatever you want to with them. They look just like, and I'll show you the fronts just so you can understand. They look just like the regular merit badge card, and it auto fills it in with their name and their council and their troop number, and then as they do requirements, they'll auto fill into here as well. So they'll all be filled out and signed if they're completed, not signed if they're not, digitally signed. So I believe that is the bulk of the registration software. This is a system that keeps records for you, so you have a way to get back into your weeks that you've taken in the past. So if you come to us in the future, you can always look up your past results. People who came in 2019, your records are still available on here. All you need to do is go back into that week of summer camp, go right here and hit reports and download the report, and you can get it at any time. So those are always going to be available for you, and they're never going to expire, or we're never going to get rid of them. So you could come to camp 10 years from now, and as long as we're still using the itinerary system, which I hope we are because we really like it, you'll be able to find those records really quickly and easily. So at this point, what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to leave this up here just in case I want to use it as a demo piece. I'm going to close off some of these extra windows, and I'm going to look at Q&A box and see what we have in here. And the first question, how will the screening process take COVID vaccinated people into account? So for summer camp, I know a lot of people are working on getting vaccinated right now, and that's something that's available. We are not going to be requiring people to be vaccinated for summer camp, but we are highly recommending that they get vaccinated for summer camp. And the reason being is that the CDC right now is not recommending any quarantining for people who have been exposed to other people who have COVID if they've been fully vaccinated. But if you have not been vaccinated, they are recommending for quarantining, and we have more people that we may potentially have to send home should somebody be at camp who's COVID positive. So being vaccinated is very beneficial in not having to go through that quarantining process and potentially being able to stay at camp. But anytime we have COVID at camp, which we didn't last year, we actually did not have any cases last year at camp. But if we do, our process is to call the local health department and work with our health officer in the local health department to do whatever mitigation they need to do based on the information that we give them. And it's a case-by-case basis. So we won't be requiring any proof of vaccination or anything like that, but we are highly recommending that everyone become vaccinated. So that way it's easier if we do end up having, a COVID issue at camp. ATV registration is the next question. 2 to 3 scouts interested, how do we guarantee they get in? There's no guarantee that they'll get in, but if you have 2 to 3 scouts that are interested in it, I highly recommend that you register them first because that is a class that fills up quickly. When you look online, there'll actually be 2 classes for ATV at the same time. There'll be a spot for 4 youth at ages 14 and up and 4 youth at 16 and up, because the way that ATV Safety Institute works, we can only have so many 14-year-olds in a class. So usually the 14-year-old spots fill up pretty quickly, but you'll want to pick one based on their age. So if they're age 15 or 14 registering, they'll get in the 14 and up spot. If they're age 16 and up, they'll be in the 16 and up spot. And that's how you'll register for those. But do those first, and that'll give you a better chance of getting in those. We want parents who want to come out for partial weeks. I talked about the partial leaders. You don't have to pay for them right away. So leaders are going to be the same price no matter what. So you can put their names in and register them, and then just send me an email with the days that they're coming, and I'll adjust the pricing so that way before you pay, you don't pay too much. The hat form and the t-shirt form are also accepted with postmark of 4/26. Yes. So we do have available for hats, pre-order hats and t-shirts. The hats are going to come automatically. Those are free when you get when you sign up by early bird, but we do have a form to get them personalized, an additional $5.50 per hat. Or you can also buy t-shirts at a reduced rate. They're $2 off from the normal trading post prices. Both of those forms are available online, and that form will probably turn off right after the 26th. But if you do send them in paper form, which are the ones that are in the back of the leader's guide with a check, we will be accepting those, same as the payments for early bird postmarked by 4/26. But there is a deadline for those. Merit badge registration for sessions ending July 3rd. We have it opening up on Monday, May 10th. Most other sessions has it open up on Saturday. Yes, that is correct. The May 10th one is avoiding Mother's Day. So our 2019 calendar had registration normally happening on the weekend, on Sunday, Sunday afternoon. And we did not change that for the Mother's Day one, and we had a lot of negative feedback from that on 2019. So the 2 holiday weekends, Mother's Day weekend and Memorial Day weekend, the dates are adjusted to fall on a weekday directly after that. So that way you can enjoy your holiday with your family, and then you can register on a weekday after the holiday's over with. Want to have parents come out for a partial week? Do we need to pay in full? Parents registered for, I'm just reading this one. So they have two people coming out. They're going to split a week. One's going to come out for the first half. One's going to come out for the second. We still want each one of those people registered, so that way we have their names in our system. And then just let us know which days they're coming for and how many days, and then we'll get it applied. So that way the first person pays for the first half of the week. The second person is billed for the second half on your registration. And then if they're both put in the system and paid for by the early bird, they'll both get hats, even though they're partial leaders, we still give hats to partial leaders as well. If you don't pay for them by the early bird deadline, then yes, you could buy extra hats, and they're available for sale in the trading post. Unless you want personalized, you can also buy extra on that form and personalize them with the rest of your troops. Add more than one alternative contact for your profile. So yep, you have the main profile page, and I'll show you on here again. So if you go back to your home page, you have manage profile, and your main profile page has your main point of contact and an alternate contact. These are for your troop for any event. And so that's 2 people who will receive the emails. And then if you go back to your home page, click on summer camp and click the camp week and hit manage. You can scroll down and you can add 2 more people. So two people that aren't on that list that'll receive just emails for summer camp. So that'll help you you can add up to 4 people then, 2 on your primary account and 2 on the registration page as well. Is there a way to have parents pay fees directly to you? No, we do not have that set up. We have 1 user account per troop. So we like to have 1 person who's dealing with the fees and getting those fees directly, figuring it out and then paying us for them. It doesn't necessarily have to be the person on your main account. You could share that username and password with another person if they wanted to manage it. But one thing that I didn't talk about earlier is if you only want to have 1 person logged in at a time. If you have 2 people or more logged into your account at a time, they can log in, but as they start adding things to the cart, whatever they add to the cart will replace whatever the other person has in the cart, and it'll get really messy. So it does not work that way. You cannot have multiple people logged in and processing the cart because you're all logged in under the same username. So you're adding to the same cart, same username. So you want to have one person logged in at a time, putting stuff in and processing it. If you have a linked troop, so if you have Scouts BSA troop for boys and a Scouts BSA troop for girls, and they're both coming to camp, you can have one person sign into each of those because they are separate accounts and register both troops at the same time. But if it's just one troop, it needs to be one person. As far as adult leaders, leaders don't necessarily need to be associated with your troop. They just need to be registered members with the BSA, and that's if they're staying over 72 hours. If they're not staying 72 hours, they can be adult leaders. They can come to camp as adults, but they do need to have youth protection and that Michigan Central Registry clearance that we talked about in our last webinar. But no, they don't need to necessarily be registered with your specific unit. But if they are coming over 72 hours, they do need to be registered in some way, and we need to have proof of that included with your registration. Whether it's a membership card, or some people just print off their recharter and highlight the names of people coming to camp. When paying for camp online using a credit or checking account or credit card, is there additional fee? We talked about that. There is one for credit card. It's 2.5%. If you're using e-check payment, there is not. You can mail us a paper check as well, and that's fine. And we do accept by the postmark date of April 26th, and you will get the free hats either way. You can only start adding merit badges to your cart when your session opens for your week, and that's on a different date for each week. And that was on the earlier slide. It's also on it's that chart that I had. I copied directly out of the Leader's Guide. So if you ever want to reference it again, that's going to be. I'll get you a page number in just a second. That one's going to be on page 5 of the Leader's Guide. So if you look in the Leader's Guide on page 5, that exact chart is in there if you ever need to reference those dates again. Looks like I answered one. We have one parent who's only driving, pulling the trailer to and from camp. How does the COVID requirement work for that person? So we're not allowing for visitors in camp or doing any parents' night stuff. They all need to be registered people. But if you do have people coming for setup help or trailer pulling on either Sunday or Saturday during check-in or checkout, we are going to allow for that, assuming that that person also has I need the exact name of it, the COVID-19 pre-event medical screening checklist, and that is the one that everyone needs to fill out and sign before they arrive at camp. It just says that they don't have any symptoms, they check themselves that morning or whenever they decided to come to camp, and just include that with the rest of your troops forms, and then they'll be allowed to come into camp and help out and do that stuff if they're just planning on leaving that day. I have another one that asked, do we need proof of vaccination cards? We're not going to be requiring vaccination, but if we do end up having, an issue where we do have somebody who, has COVID at camp and we need to do some tracing or figure out who needs to quarantine, that may be something that would be helpful, and that's actually something that hasn't crossed my mind yet. So I'll get back with you on that one. Just to see how we want to handle that. And I'm going to make a note of that right now. So that way, if we do end up requiring them, we'll let everyone know that if they have it, bring it along just in case, or include it with their medical forms. Give me 1 second. I have somebody who says, don't delay on the central registry request. I can't stress that enough either. The central registry is something new this year. So if it's something that you're like, I've never heard of that, we haven't done it yet, we're doing it this year, and we're going to require it every year, especially for summer camp. It's a background check through the state of Michigan for anyone who's 21 years of age or older and coming out to camp as an adult leader. Just coming out to camp as an adult in general. It's a lengthy process. In the fact that you have to fill out a form, very quick, it takes 5 seconds to fill out, attach a copy of your ID, but then you mail it and or fax it to the central registry office at Michigan, and then they send you back your copy that says you have been cleared. And we want to make sure that you're getting it sent to you, so you have the original. We only want photocopies. We do not want your original, so that way you have it for future uses. Because you only have to do it once at this point. You don't have to do it every single year, so you can use that multiple years once you've been cleared. This is in addition to the normal background check that you get statewide or nationwide that happens when you register as a leader, but this one's going to be required for any adult coming to camp. I did mine. It took 5 weeks. That was in February, though. I've had other people who said that they did it and it only took 2 weeks, but that's still 2 weeks. So that's something that you want to do right now. Again, it's a free request, especially if you fax it. If you mail it, it's just the cost of the stamp. I recommend just having every single leader in your troop do it, or anybody who might even think they're coming to summer camp do it now, because there's no cost involved with it. And then if they don't end up coming, at least they have it even if they come next year and they want to come to camp. So I would just, at your next troop meeting, this week, just print a bunch of forms out, give them to your adults, have them take care of it, and that way it's said and done, and you don't need to worry about it. What documents? Next question, what documents will we need to drop off at the pre-camp meeting? So we like to get a few different documents at the pre-camp meeting if you end up attending. Not everyone attends that pre-camp meeting, but things that we like to see, I'm looking, is your health forms. So we do try and collect those health forms early because we take them back after the meeting and our health officer looks through them during the 2 weeks before your time at camp. That gives them time to look through them, see if there's anything missing, seeing if they need any additional signatures or things, and then we'll actually email you and say, hey, Billy didn't have a doctor's Part C, or we're still missing an insurance card for this one. And then that way you can contact the parents, tell them what they're missing, and have it ready to go when you get to camp. And then the only thing we'll be looking for when you arrive at camp is anything that was missing. If you don't have all your medical forms at the time, just bring what you do have, and then we'll just check off those, and then we'll only be looking for the ones that you didn't have when you get to camp. Please provide us copies of the medical form. We do return them at the end of the week, but we would like copies and we would like you to keep the originals. But we do end up returning those at the end of the week. You can submit them to us in a folder, you can put them in a binder, whatever works, we'll take them and we'll look through those and then give them back to you at the end of your summer camp week. We also collect any permission slips and any informed consent and release agreements. That's the additional form that's required of everybody coming to camp. It's basically the same exact language as Part A of the health form, but we need to keep that one on file because it has the hold harmless and also the talent release. And we keep that on file for a number of years. And because we return your medical forms at the end of the week, we need to have that same document signed and put in our files, and that's the one we end up keeping. So we'll also request that one. And then if you have anybody who's taking aviation, horsemanship, or ATV, there's an extra permission form for that. And we'll have those, they're available online. We'll actually have blank copies at the meeting as well, but if you have any of those signed and all ready to go, you can turn them in there as well. So those are the things that we generally collect at the meeting. If you want to get a head start and you're not planning on coming to the meeting, you can also mail them to camp. Or if you just don't have that date, but you're in the area, you can drop them off at the council office in Toledo and or the summer camp here at PSR, and we can take them anytime before camp and go through them, and that way we can get a head start. If you don't turn anything in, that's 100% okay. It just means it's going to take a little bit longer at check-in to go through all the forms, and if you have a large unit, we'll just have to scan through all those on site, so you may spend a little bit longer going through that process. But that's 100% okay. You also get to pick up a few things. So if you do attend that meeting, we'll have your early bird hats ready if you qualified for any. And if you special ordered, they'll be there as well. And if you special ordered any t-shirts pre-ahead, those will be available at that meeting as well for pickup. If you're not there to pick them up, we'll have them at check-in for you. Right when you get out of your car, you'll come in and check in and we'll have them and hand them to you right there. So I think, let me go through these. I think I answered all the questions that are in the Q&A box. And if anybody else has any more questions about anything that we did tonight, please, please, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. I'm going to really quickly open the chat, and I am going to put my email address and phone number in here as well. So that way you can copy and paste if you want to. So the email address that you'd be going to is the campdirector@psrweb.org. And I just posted that in the chat, so you should be able to see that. And then also the phone for my office, I'll put that in here. and I'm an extension 105 here at camp. So there's that as well. But thank you so much for attending the webinar tonight. I hope you learned something about the registration process, and I hope you feel a little bit more comfortable about getting your scouts paid for and registered for camp. If you have any questions, please reach out to me, email, phone number, and I can walk you through it. And if you need any help with the registration thing, I can always get in the back end on my end as well, and I can show you how everything works. So I can push things through your cart, add things into your cart, and fix things for you on my end. So that way, if you're having trouble getting something figured out, I usually can end up fixing it on my end. So thank you so much, and we'll see everyone at camp coming up soon. Thanks, guys. Bye.